911, what is the address of your emergency? Does the person know you called us?
No. I'm sorry, I have to hang up.
Right now.
I'm gonna die. Negative. Air support is grounded due to fire weather. I need a better location. How will you get it?
I know Emily's with you. Where are you going? Oh.
What if the Guilty's biggest twist wasn't in the script, but hidden in a single frame? Today, we're exposing the secret even the director tried to bury. This is the story of a police officer named Joe, who is currently suspended from duty due to a mistake he made. The guilt of that incident weighs heavily on his heart, but he hasn't shared it with anyone. While waiting for his final court hearing that could decide whether he returns to duty, Joe is working the night shift at a 911 emergency call center. One night, he receives a strange call from a woman that completely changes his life. Joe's suspension has taken a toll on his personal life. His wife has left him, taking their daughter with her. She refuses to let Joe even speak to their child. Burdened by stress, Joe tries calling his wife just to hear his daughter's voice, but she doesn't answer. Meanwhile, a reporter keeps calling Joe, trying to get information about his case, but he avoids her. Suddenly, Joe receives a call from a woman named Emily. Her tone is unsettling. She speaks as if she's talking to her son. Joe initially assumes it's a prank, something he's used to during his shift. But just as he's about to hang up, he hears a man's voice in the background telling Emily to end the call. Alarmed, Joe begins to suspect that Emily has been kidnapped. He calmly asks her questions, instructing her to answer with just yes or no. From her answers, Joe deduces that Emily has been abducted by someone she knows. Using her phone number, he traces her location and finds out that she's being transported out of the city in a white van along the highway. He places her call on hold and immediately contacts Highway Patrol, giving them the information. Just as he's trying to save Emily, his wife calls him back, but he ignores the call. Emily's life is now his top priority. Emily calls back but makes a slip, alerting the kidnapper that she's talking to someone other than her son. Joe tells her that if she calls 911 again, she should ask to speak directly to him to avoid repeating the details to another officer. The call drops, but Joe remains deeply worried about her. Highway Patrol manages to stop a white van, but it turns out to be the wrong one. Frustrated, Joe realizes they need the vehicle's number to track her correctly. Digging deeper, Joe pulls up Emily's home information and calls her landline. To his surprise, a little girl answers, Emily's daughter. The girl explains that she and her younger brother are alone at home because their father, Henry, came and took their mother away. Joe asks for Henry's full name, and, remarkably, the girl remembers his phone number. Joe learns from the system that Henry has a criminal record. Concerned for the children's safety, he assures the girl that help is on the way. Joe gives the van's number to the Highway Patrol and asks his department to send help to Emily's house. But all units are occupied dealing with a large fire elsewhere. Still worried, Joe contacts his friend, a sergeant, and asks him to send officers to both Emily's and Henry's locations. The sergeant warns him that this action is illegal and could jeopardize his court case. Joe insists, saying his shift is about to end anyway, and calls Emily's number again, but the call doesn't go through. He then calls his wife, but she hangs up angrily, saying it's too late at night. Joe then calls Henry, who denies knowing Emily's whereabouts. Joe accuses him of transporting Emily in the van, and Henry abruptly ends the call. Joe also reaches out to a colleague who is stressed because he's supposed to give false testimony at Joe's trial the next day. Joe reassures him and then explains Emily's case, requesting him to go to her house for more information. Soon, an officer informs Joe that a little girl is calling for him. It's Emily's daughter again. She says someone is ringing the doorbell. Joe tells her it's the police team he sent and instructs her to open the door. The officers enter and discover blood on the girl's clothes, but it's not hers, it's her little brother's. They realize the boy wasn't just sleeping as the girl believed. He was stabbed and is dead. This news shocks Joe. Joe desperately tries calling Emily again. When she answers, he asks her where she is and what Henry is doing. Emily replies that Henry is driving and she's in the passenger seat. Joe tells her to put on her seatbelt and pull the handbrake, hoping to stop the van. Emily obeys, but the van doesn't stop, and Henry forces her into the back seat. Joe asks her if there's a heavy object nearby. Emily replies that there's a dumbbell. Joe tells her to hit Henry with it if he gets close. Suddenly, Emily asks a strange question. Why is Henry angry at her just for removing snakes from her son's body? Joe is baffled and urges her to explain. Emily then confesses. Her son had been crying all morning with stomach pain, and she believed there were snakes inside him. So, she took a knife and cut his stomach open to remove them. Joe is horrified. It becomes clear to him that Emily is mentally ill, not kidnapped. Henry wasn't abducting her. He was trying to take her to a mental hospital for everyone's safety. Joe listens as Emily, following his earlier instructions, attacks Henry and escapes. He realizes that his interference may have worsened the situation. A call from his colleague confirms that Emily had previously been admitted to a psychiatric hospital, but Henry couldn't afford her treatment and brought her home. Now, after she killed their son, Henry was trying to take her back to the facility. Joe, feeling guilty, calls Henry again. Henry is injured, but still only cares about protecting his daughter. Joe tries calling Emily, but she doesn't answer. Just then, an officer informs him that Emily is on the line. Although Joe's shift has ended, he stays on to talk to her. Emily tells him she's on a bridge and her clothes are soaked in blood, her son's blood. She says she regrets everything and wants to jump from the bridge. Joe begs her not to, saying people still love her. In tears, he admits that the real fault lies with him. To keep her engaged until help arrives, he shares his own story. 8 months ago, he shot a 19-year-old boy during duty in anger. His court hearing is tomorrow, and he has arranged for people, including his wife, to lie in his favor so he can get his job back. His wife, however, resents him for what he did and doesn't allow him to see their daughter. Joe realizes that, like Emily, he's also deeply flawed. Both have lost control of their emotions and made irreversible mistakes. But unlike Emily, Joe has been hiding behind lies. For the first time in 8 months, Joe confesses his guilt to someone and breaks down emotionally. The police reach Emily just in time and stop her from jumping. Joe is relieved. The police also inform him that Emily's son is alive, though critically injured and now in the ICU. Joe feels a sense of redemption. He helped save lives tonight. But this only reminds him of the life he destroyed when he shot that boy months ago. Wanting to do the right thing, Joe calls his colleague and asks him not to give false testimony in court. He informs all his witnesses, including the reporter, and tells them the truth about everything. The next day in court, the ruling goes against Joe, and he is punished for his past actions. However, this time he is at peace. The burden of guilt is gone. By finally choosing truth over lies, Joe finds redemption. And with that, the story ends at one quick frame of the guilty. Joe's reflection appears on the emergency call screen. Not calm, but disturbed. It's a subtle clue that the real danger isn't the kidnapper, it's Joe himself. That moment rewrites the truth. This isn't just a rescue story. It's a man drowning in guilt, trying to fix someone else's life to escape his past. The twist isn't in the script. It's in his eyes. So, genius twist or total nonsense? Find it out below. And if you spotted a detail we missed, drop it in the comments. Prove us wrong. Be subscribed to enjoy more movies. Our next recap will blow your skirt up.